This is the film show on Hospital Radio Medway, and now Pet Sematary is released in cinemas this week and is the latest in a seemingly endless list of Stephen King books adapted for the big screen. This year alone we can also expect It Part 2 and Mr. Mercedes, which is the sequel to The Shining, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, as well as a couple of TV series as well. I think they're doing The Stand and one or two others. But are they worth the hype? What's your favourite adaptation, and is Stephen King simply writing stuff to just cash in with the movie studios? Thoughts, Beth?
He's not simply writing stuff to cash in with the movie studios. None of his books are... He waffles too much. He's a waffler.
I do think that, kind of like J.K. Rowling, I think they do think about the cinematic potential of stories.
Stephen King doesn't. Like, his books naturally, because he goes into so much... he goes into so much detail about the landscape where they are and the characters. They lend themselves really well to films, but... You take It, for example, the book is huge.
Yeah.
And it's so difficult to make it into a film because you don't really understand what it is, because you can't understand unless you're told.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's purposely... I think a lot of his books are like that, and he'll go on for chapters about stuff that is completely irrelevant. If he was making them specifically for films, I don't think he'd do that.
I do kind of agree. I think I haven't read the book like you have, but... So when I watched the two-part sort of TV movie that they did 20 years back now, I sort of found that it didn't really make sense to me at the end. And it's probably because, like I say, they just didn't have time to do that kind of narrative resolution justice.
Absolutely. And we've had this conversation again before, haven't we?
Yeah.
Like, without being sat down and explained or reading what it is, you don't get that, and that is what I'm really hoping they get across in It Part 2.
Yeah.
Because it's so much more than what that first sort of TV series says.
Yeah. And
it's so clever, and you really lost that, and I think that's a shame, because Stephen King is amazing, and his ideas and his concepts are brilliant, but they never come across in the films.
Do you know, though, I'm going to throw a film out there that we watched a couple of years back on probably Netflix or something like that. But I don't think anyone else would have really heard of it. I think it's called Mr. and Mrs. Am I right? Like, the premise was that this couple, was it the husband killed his wife, or vice versa, or they killed someone else, and it wasn't your typical Stephen King film. It was more like a kind of...
Wasn't it more like crime?
It was like a crime thriller, but almost in real time, as he was trying to like cover up.
Yeah, I remember that.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
And I think it's called Mr. and Mrs. So I think if you're... I don't even think you need to like Stephen King adaptations generally. Try and find it, because it's actually a really surprisingly good drama.
Yeah, no, I do remember that. Okay, so what's your favourite Stephen King adaptation? I know you... Have you read any of his books?
I've read The Shining like retrospectively after I saw the film.
Is that the only Stephen King book you've read?
Probably, yeah.
Okay. All right, so what's your favourite film from a Stephen King book then?
I think The Shining is a classic. I love The Shining. No, hang on. Stephen King did Carrie, didn't he?
He did do Carrie.
Love Carrie.
What, the original film?
The original film, yeah. Yeah, not the Chloe Grace Moretz one. That was diabolical.
Yeah, that was bad.
That was really bad. Yeah. But no, the original Carrie is phenomenal.
Yeah, the original Carrie is good, and it's very close to the book. I really like Misery.
Yes.
I think that's a very good film.
I forget everything that Stephen King has written.
See?
Like, Misery is awesome.
Yeah, Misery is brilliant.
Yeah.
I liked The Shining. I only watched that a year or two ago with you, didn't I? Because I refused to watch it.
Yeah.
Because I love The Shining, the book, and the film is so different.
Yeah.
But it's really good. It's like a standalone film. It's not anything like the book.
Yeah, yeah.
But it is good.
I'll tell you what we should do, because Pet Sematary is... Well, it's in cinemas now. It's been out for a few days now. And we're hoping... We'll see it later on, I think.
Yes.
And put our review up next week on the show. But I think... There's been a very mixed review so far from people. Some people love it. Some people really, really don't like it.
But I've got to throw in there, most of the people that don't like it have never read the book.
Yes, that could well be the case. But I'm proposing we do a buy borrow bid on Twitter now. Let's get it set up.
Ooh.
Let's get the feedback, and we'll update at the end of the show what the current votes are standing at.
Good idea.
Yeah. Let's do that. Let's get that on Twitter.